Women's ski racing in the 1970s had one overshadowing superstar. Beating her meant reaching the very top of the world. The few who managed it set new standards for the sport and earned their place in the history books of Alpine ski racing. Austria's ski team had some turbulent weeks leading up to these Olympic Winter Games in Sapporo. After the suspension of Karl Schranz, it was unclear if they would even compete. Now that Schranz went home and the rest of the team stayed in Japan, we know that they will be part of the races. But can they win? Most of the Austrians didn't get proper training because of this drama. The biggest hopes lie on the shoulders of Annemarie Pröll. She's the best female ski racer in the world, and it would be a huge surprise if she doesn't win at least one race here. But she will also be the last of the top group to start in this downhill. Up next is Marie-Theres Nadig. The Swiss prodigy is still only 17 years old and already among the best speed skiers in the world. But she also never won a race before. So let's see what she can do here. The Swiss Miss is skiing the race of her life. What a great run! And Nadig crosses the finish line, exactly 1 second ahead of Susan Karak. And now, with starting number 15, here comes the heavy favorite. Here comes Annemarie Pröll. She's holding the line masterfully, but can she win? No! Marie-Theres Nadig stays in the lead. After Bernhard Russi's win, this is the second Olympic gold medal for Switzerland and downhill. And now, the second run of the women's giant slalom event. Annemarie Pröll is the defending world champion in this discipline too. Will the Austrian woman seize the second chance for gold? It's unbelievable! Marie-Theres Nadig wins again. Annemarie Pröll only gets silver, while the Swiss teenager wins her second gold medal. What a surprising upset! Marie-Theres Nadig's and Bernhard Russi's Olympic gold medals in 1972 were a game changer for Swiss ski racing. Their success and the public acknowledgement that followed were a huge deal in the Alpine country. They showed that the mighty Austrians and French racers could be beaten and put Switzerland back on the map of the sport. But while Russi turned out to be a true professional in media work, the very young Marie-Theres Nadig often seemed overwhelmed by all the attention she got. But she didn't really seem to care about her public image either. Nadig was blunt and direct. She said what she thought, and she didn't always follow etiquette. The new pressures from media and fans took their toll on Nadig. The teenager had to learn how to find focus in this new world. And it took some time until Marie-Theres Nadig found her footing at the top again. With TV now showing the thrill of ski racing live and in color, the sport gained more and more popularity. In Switzerland, the success of Sapporo created a real ski racing boom. Other countries also got better and better, but the Austrian women, especially with Annemarie Pröll, remained supreme. The tide, however, was slowly turning. In 1974, the tiny country of Liechtenstein turned out the new youngest world champion in ski racing. Her name was Hanni Wenzel, but everybody called her Hanni. The previous record was set over 40 years before by the British Esme McKinnon, who was the very first ski racing world champion. Hanni Wenzel won the slalom in St. Moritz at only a little over 17 years old. To this day, she is still the youngest world champion in the history of the sport. And as soon as she gained some experience on the highest level, Hanni Wenzel became the greatest rival of Annemarie Pröll. First, Wenzel took Pröll's Giant Slalom World Cup discipline title. But to truly challenge the Austrian superstar, racers had to become real all-rounders. They had to be capable of winning in every discipline. Hanni Wenzel was a great technician, but in downhill, she lacked crucial experience. For somebody from a small ski racing country, opportunities to train downhill on the highest level are rare. That's also why the racers from Liechtenstein joined the Swiss in a training group. Hanni Wenzel used this to her advantage and trained alongside some of the best downhillers of her time, like Marie-Theres Nadig. On the other hand, the Swiss could learn a thing or two from one of the best technicians in the world. But the first true masterclass in all-around ski racing didn't come from Switzerland, nor from Liechtenstein or Austria, but from their big neighbor, Germany. The 1976 Olympic Games in Innsbruck were a roller coaster of emotions for the Austrian home crowd. While Franz Klammer on the men's side showed one of the greatest races in the sport's history, the biggest name on the women's side was missing. The now married Annemarie Moser-Pröll put her family before her career and chose to care for her ill father instead of competing for Olympic gold on home snow. Moser-Pröll was at the peak of her powers at that time, and now she left the door open for the rest of the world to shine. And one German woman seized this opportunity with both hands. During the 1970s, Germany had a well-rounded ski team. Although there were many other countries with more success on the tour, there was always a German racer among the potential winners of the day. But one woman in particular stood head and shoulders above the rest of her nation's ski team. Her name was Rosa Anna Katharina Mittermaier, but everybody just called her Rosi. From the very beginning in 1967, Rosi Mittermaier was part of the Alpine Ski Racing World Cup. She was also a teenager when she won her first race in 1969 at 18 years old. Her natural talent for the sport shone through from the very beginning, but she never seemed to bother too much about winning. She really raced for the love of the game and the joy of the ride. From 1972 onwards, Rosi Mittermaier was constantly a top 7 ski racer in the World Cup. Her enthusiasm and willingness to share her knowledge with everybody made her very popular among her peers. She always seemed positive and cheerful, which also helped her gain massive popularity with the public. But her biggest shining moment came at the end of her career on the biggest possible stage. The summer of 1975 was special for Rosi Mittermaier. Going into an Olympic winter and with Annemarie Moser-Pröll out of the picture, she trained like never before. And it paid off. Since the FIS also introduced the combined as its own World Cup discipline for the first time in the 1975-76 season, there were 12 titles in total up for grabs. Being the best all-rounder in the world, Rosi Mittermaier collected big points after big points heading into the Winter Games. And there, she created something magical. Having never won a downhill before, Rosi Mittermaier skied the race of her life at the Olympics and won gold in Innsbruck. 5 days later at the Giant Slalom, Mittermaier led the field after 2/3 of the race, but then the Canadian Kathy Greiner overtook her, leaving the German superstar with the silver medal. But that was just a minor dent, because at the Olympic slalom, Mittermaier's best discipline, she confirmed her status as favorite and won gold. Never before or since did a female ski racer win the Olympic gold medals in downhill and slalom at the same Winter Games. By the end of the season, Rosi Mittermaier also won the combined and the Slalom World Cup title, as well as the overall championship, while being a top 10 racer in every discipline. Since the Olympics at that time also counted as World Championships, which also had a calculated title for World Champion in combined, Rosi Mittermaier ended the season with 8 major titles in total, plus 2 silver medals. It's the biggest year any female ski racer has had in the history of the sport. Only Jean-Claude Killy's 1968 season can top this, but 2 of his titles are disputed. Otherwise, Rosi Mittermaier's performance in 1976 is the best ski racing anybody has shown so far. Rosi Mittermaier's success and personality made her a huge star in Germany. She was beloved like no other female athlete before, and at the peak of her career, Mittermaier retired in the summer of 1976. she went on to publish books about her career and married another German ski racer, Christian Neureuter. They became the German dream couple, and like many others of their generation, they had children who would become world-class ski racers of their own. Hanni Wenzel later also gave birth to a future World Cup winner. But first she showed the world that an overall ski racing champion can also come from Liechtenstein. Although Switzerland played a major role in the development of alpine ski racing, the West Alpine nation still didn't have an overall champion by the mid-1970s. That changed in 1977, when Lise Marie Moser-Pröll had the season of her life, winning both the slalom and giant slalom discipline titles while crowning herself the first Swiss overall champion. She achieved that feat against Annemarie Moser-Pröll, who made her comeback that season. But for the Austrian superstar, that was just a warm-up. The following season, Moser-Pröll once again became the best downhill skier on the tour. But the World Cup at that time was also a complicated mess. The FIS changed point systems and regulations almost every season. After 1 year with a combined title, the discipline got abolished during the following 3 seasons and then came back again. And regarding the calculations for the World Cup titles, the methods varied from 1 year to the next. In the 1977-78 season, only the best 5 results counted towards the discipline title, and the 3 best results per discipline made up the overall ranking. At the end of the season, Annemarie Moser-Pröll was just 7 points behind the overall champion, but she didn't lose based on merit, but because of a technicality. Although she finished second at a giant slalom in Val d'Isère, Moser-Pröll got disqualified for allegedly wearing forbidden clothing. This disqualification ended up costing her the overall title, which went to Hanni Wenzel. It was the beginning of an epic battle between 2 generational talents. The following season, all came down to the final race, a giant slalom in the Japanese Furano. Hanni Wenzel was leading the ranking, but she had also maxed out her results. Only a win could bring her the next overall title. For Annemarie Moser-Pröll, it was enough to finish in the top 6, and with her second place finish, that's exactly what she did, earning herself the 6th overall championship. But Hanni Wenzel came back with a vengeance. In 1980, the ski princess from Liechtenstein performed one of the greatest seasons in alpine ski racing history. Not only did she win the reinstated combined discipline title, she also went on to finish as a top 3 racer in every discipline, winning the giant slalom and overall title in demanding fashion. At the same time, her brother Andreas also won the Big Crystal Globe on the men's side, making the Wenzels the only pair of siblings who became overall champions in the same year. On top of that, Hanni Wenzel matched Rosi Mittermaier's performance on the biggest stage. At the Lake Placid Olympics, she won the golden double in the technical disciplines and got silver behind Annemarie Moser-Pröll in downhill, making Wenzel the combined world champion. That also meant that Hanni Wenzel won at least 1 medal at 4 consecutive major events between 1974 and 1980. A feat that only Christel Kranz and Marielle Guatschel accomplished before her. To this day, Hanni Wenzel is the only athlete from Liechtenstein ever to win Olympic gold. The fact that the top-level ski racers of the tiny country trained with the Swiss created a ripple effect. And it was enormous. By the start of the 1980s, Marie-Theres Nadig found her footing at the top again. She won the Downhill World Cup against Moser-Pröll in 1980. Nadig defended this title the next season while also winning the combined discipline together with the overall championship, making her the best Swiss ski racer of her time. But her success was only the beginning of what would become the most dominant dynasty in female ski racing ever. During the 80s, the sport went through some major changes. Athletes were slowly turning into legal professionals. Hanni Wenzel was one of the last victims of the so-called amateur rule. She ended her career because of it, leading up to the 1984 Olympics in Sarajevo. Marie-Theres Nadig, meanwhile, followed the lead of many top skiers before her and retired after her overall title. Her successors would become even bigger legends of the sport. The true game changers, though, didn't come from Switzerland nor Austria or Liechtenstein. They came from across the Atlantic.